Broadcast. Welcome to episode number 24 of the Zaner MarketCast, your one and only spot to keep up with all of the agricultural market news. Episode 24. That means that we've done this at least 24 times.
24 times.
That's pretty wild, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Wild. Yeah. You look well rested. You look like two babies in the house. You look like you're doing great.
I'm well caffeinated. There's a difference.
And that's what it takes, right? You got to get through it. Like, what was it, Nick the Greek that would talk about playing poker? When you get on a streak, he said you got to do whatever you have to do to stay in the game when you get a luck streak. And so here you are, lucky, blessed, two beautiful boys, new addition to the family, and a cup of coffee probably ain't hurting nothing, huh?
No, it's the fuel that keeps the fire burning.
That's terrific. Absolutely. So normally, if you were here, I would say, hey, so what are your plans for this weekend? But I think I know what your plans for this weekend are. You're just going to be a dad for the next
That's right.
X number of hours.
Family's got just some introduction to the new kid on the block. Some cousins and in-laws haven't met him yet, so we're going to be hanging and you're right, just being a dad this weekend. And we got some great weather for it. It looks like, we're going into a fall here. I don't know, man. It's pretty nice. We've had some of the nicest days all summer this last week. But I won't be enjoying them outside. So please, everybody, let me live my life vicariously. Get out there, enjoy them.
I'm going to send you a text of me sitting in a fold-out chair, just doing nothing.
With a cold beer and a cigar.
You're never going to have been so jealous to see somebody just sitting in a chair doing nothing, not being pulled in 7 different directions. But again, and we say this all the time, you got to enjoy it because it goes so fast. I think I'm going to go see my daughter at her university. And I swear I was just in your shoes a week or two ago, and all of a sudden now
on complete opposite sides of the spectrum.
Right,
kids shipping them off, and then now getting to go and enjoy them as adults. You're at a crossroads yourself, and about to have some fun. And
but I say
18 years behind you, but I'll get there, buddy.
I say take your time and enjoy it while you can, because it goes pretty fast. When you haven't slept for 3 days and everybody gives you that horrible advice, it just goes so fast. You're like, oh, Lord, it can't go any faster. Please hurry up. But you'll look back and it'll be great.
Why not use that to segue into our markets this week, right? No, really, kind of a quick end of the week, right? I mean, you look at corn, for example. Boy, I mean, that's like yippity-doo-dah Thursday, Friday. We're all of a sudden changing a tune in the way that chart looks. But how do we close the week on corn?
Let's do the numbers. So weekly, not the other day we did dailies. These are weekly numbers. We opened the week at 405.5. The high was 414, low 397. Last trade I saw was 413.5 in the December corn on that weekly chart. That's up 7. And I did not get a chance to see the fund position, but I believe that coming into yesterday, they were short about 160,000 contracts. Am I right?
That sounds about right.
Give or take. Yep.
Memory serves.
So in my notes here, I have 416, 423 and 3/4, 10 in the 18-day. What do I mean? Tell me what I mean with those numbers, Dan.
Yeah, you got your 401 is your 18-day moving average. That was, kind of talked about as trend support, right? Once you get back above that level. We ran all the way up to the 55-day there last week, came back off of it, tested the 18-day, broken resistance, now support. And now we've cleared through and have our first weekly close above the 55-day moving average. I mean, it's really hard to call this anything but a somewhat of a technical reversal now. Yesterday, we had an outside day higher. That means we traded through the prior day's high and low. I mean, swept both sides of the market, right? With that WASDE report. The same could be said for beans. And here, springboarding higher after that. This is about as good of a close for the week for corn as you can ask without any real, really, 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 I think, bullish news, right? I mean, I don't know about you. I didn't look at that report and think to myself, oh boy, this report's necessarily exceedingly bullish corn, with a miss in terms of, the trade expectations to the downside there on that. Well, the trade expectations were a bit lower on those corn yields. I was expecting, a little bit more of a bearish reaction and follow through. We're not getting that. And that's fine. We're not here to trade numbers or reports, and we're here to digest the reaction, right? And then respond. And the only way you can respond to this type of price action is think to yourself, oh, wow, we might be in a period of price discovery higher. We're closing in on highs of the month. If we take those levels out, you have to be asking yourself the question, right, what's the next level to the upside? And do
Which
your own
is
due diligence.
technical fact. Those numbers are 416 and 423, previous highs
Absolutely.
from some days ago. We referenced those days on Wednesday. I did not write down what the dates were, but anybody that looks at a chart, you can see them as plain as day. 416 previous high, 423 and 3/4 previous high. So I would normally say all bar talk until we get out above those levels, but in this case, it's not, right? It's not. We're above the 18-day. We're above the 18-day, and you have pointed out very astutely that you have a bullish reaction post what should have been what it could be construed as some, mildly bearish, not extremely bearish, but bearish information, and you've got this bullish reaction. I would, however, say wheat, maybe corn's being dragged up by wheat. Vladimir Putin thinks that they start launching missiles into Russia, that maybe he's going to be battling the entirety of NATO. That's got the wheat market spooked. We opened the week in wheat at 565.5. The high was 598 3/4. Low 560 1/2. D's wheat on the week. Close last trade I saw was 594
3/4.
Right. Yep. So up
closing in on $6, man.
Right. Up 27 3/4 on the week. War. Good God, y'all. Has wheat escaped? Do we have escape velocity in wheat?
You cleared that 18-day. It hasn't even looked back to test it as support, right? We got through that 55-day there last week. That's been the level that the wheat market's been breaking, the technical level, so to speak, broke above and then held support. And this week we've been running off of that level and taking out, making higher highs and higher lows each day. Yesterday's close gave us a big bearish candle, but ultimately it was still a higher high and higher low for the day. Today we traded through that, that downside, that sell-off we had after the WASDE report, made new highs, as Joe's pointing out, right? Well through it. Joe's pointing out, on the back of what could be a change in dynamic for a justifiable reason that bull catches it, or wheat catches a bid, excuse me. But ultimately, you're through some technical resistance now that you got to ask yourself, what's the next level to the upside? For our wheat back in July held highs around 616, of course, $6, right? But 616. And then right above that, actually not right above that, that is the 100-day moving average as well. Right above that is the 620 200-day moving average. So I wonder if there isn't, going to be some follow through, a push higher towards, that cluster of next big moving averages around the 620 area.
Funds short only, it was a double digit number, and I thought maybe it was 56 or 66,000. We'll have to look at commitment to traders, which gives us data from Tuesday, but
yes,
and also estimates that we like to get from our friends at ADM. But wasn't, my point is not an exceedingly large short position,
right? But that was, let's also note for wheat, Tuesday was 30-40 cents ago now, right? So there has been considerable volume. Wednesday's volume was 48,000. Thursday's volume 74,000. Today's volume 84,000. So there's very good chance that you could have seen that really swing and maybe even start going the other way. I don't think they're getting that long. I wouldn't be surprised to see us getting, trimming that short back quite a bit from this type of price action.
What it makes me wonder is with that size short position and the ability for them to move it, if indeed, which, and I certainly agree with you, if indeed they have come closer to flat, wheat is really going to have to go on its own merits. Unlike corn and beans, where you have 100 and, whatever that position is at this point, still kind of big. You could get short covering and say, okay, here's why we're rallying. But if wheat's going to rally, it's going to have to be on some perceived fundamental situation. And I wonder if war premium, just because Vladimir Putin
taking the words out of my mouth right now, right?
So he's gonna jawbone it, but they're still going to be turning around and giving away wheat to keep market share, right?
Absolutely. And if there is and as they have been doing, right, they've somehow managed to sell their wheat crop, as has Ukraine in the midst of war. So, but all that push comes to shove here. If war is on the docket, if that becomes a true, problem, if things continue to heat up and wheat wants to continue to rally, it's got a reason to, and certainly a trend to continue with. Something to watch for, right?
In my notes here, when it comes to beans, I've got two numbers that I'd like to come back to: 1031 and 995. Beans on the week opened at 1002 and a quarter. The high was 1021, low 995 and a half. And then last trade I saw today was 1006 and a quarter. That was up a whopping 1 and a quarter. I don't know that I would call this anemic price action, but inside week, it looks like, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe you can double check me there. Give me a quick fact checking. 10-day moving average. What is that? 1009 and a half.
I do believe you are correct on the inside week. Yeah.
1009 and a half, 10-day, 18,995 and 3/4.
5 3/4. Yep. And our 55-day kind of being the upside, I think, resistance zone or area at 1028 and a half today. The market didn't quite get to it, a week ago when it was up at 1038, making the 1031 highs. But we were also running into the lows, on the chart from July that we had kind of bounced up off of, then broke below to start the month of August. So the latter part of August into September has been a retracement of August's downside price action. We are getting back up to those levels we were at in July, breaking above at this point that 55-day moving average, and the highs of this month around 1031 would be a clear signal, in my opinion. You're going back into that old range. And again, you get to be playing that game of how high could it go? 100-day above there at 1095 would be my next level to the upside to pay attention to. But there's a lot that we'd have to chew through to get up there. Corn and wheat seem to be moving in their own world right now. And beans, I'm asking myself, okay, if we're not rallying, would we have fallen apart in the soybeans if corn and wheat weren't up right now, right? And that's a question, and then you have to ask yourself, okay, if beans are going to break down and go do 960 again, let's just play devil's advocate, will that put weight on corn and, corn shoulders? Anyway, that's a question for another day. What we do know now is the lows of the week down there at 995 and that 18-day moving average is the supportive area on this chart that if we break below, seems to be a market that's kind of been topping for now. And of course, gets a little more bullish above that 1020 area and that bull flag that's on the chart to see if the market can move higher.
1031 represents the peak of that bull flag.
That's correct.
So you've got a well-defined technical range.
The 55-day. And then 1020, kind of being the highs of today, gives you that secondary top, right, that things were faded off of and have now, come down below. So,
in the midst,
we remain above, but I will say the last 3 days, right, have been higher highs and higher lows still. So it's inside price action, like you said, for the week.
In the midst of this well-defined, for beans, a rather tight range, right, 995 to 1031. In November beans is a morning's worth of price action, right? So in the midst of this tight price action, you kind of have dueling fundamentals where is it possible that as we head into harvest, it's this bean crop that comes out and goes looking for quick sales in order for people to fund, like last year, in order for people to fund maybe looking down the road a bit with corn. I haven't heard too many people talk about that. I've heard some folks talk about both corn and beans will be chasing storage, but I wonder if folks bring all of these beans out of the field, do they immediately come to town so that we can fund a wait and see, harvest and hold kind of strategy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that could get a little spicy if, I've heard there's some issues on the river too, so if there's a rush to market and beans and things aren't making their way through. Again, we saw some flash sales from China. We see that continued demand. That doesn't hurt, but
100 this morning.
100 metric tons a day doesn't do it though, right? I mean, it's better than not, right? If it's not happening, we're really concerned. If it's happening, we're asking ourselves, why isn't it 2? Why isn't it 500? And, I would love to see that 500 or million metric ton buy. That makes turns your head and catches your
other
attention.
side of that fundamental coin. Other side of that fundamental coin is dryness in South America. Certainly on the verge of being a thing, but we are also on the verge of what we would consider seasonal precipitation down there that is supposed to begin in October, if I'm correct. No weatherman, but talk is that not to worry, it's going to rain in October, right?
Yeah, they need their, and you're going to probably hear this a lot, the atmospheric river, right, to make its way and bring that. Sure. It's not monsoon, but it's the equivalent of a monsoon season, right? The rainy season begins, and they need that to kick into gear. There's a lot you can watch and guys that are reporting on it, but above my pay grade, but we'll still continue to watch, right, the precipitation counts, and that's a good way to know if it at least happened or not.
But it's likely that we won't be asking the question, which direction for beans, for very much longer. Right.
Right. We're at
Yeah.
such a tight range, right? It's days, hours from, putting ourselves up to 1040 or down to 1080, in my opinion, right? And it's a matter of breaking the little bull flag in the range we've been in. Um, yeah. So we got a couple stories today. One from the EPA here granting $15 million to study agricultural effects for forever chemicals. A story from DTN with some farmers facing farm contamination from forever chemicals, through the use of sewer sludge applied as fertilizer, especially in states such as Maine and Michigan. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency this week announced millions of dollars in grants to help learn more about oh boy, I know why I get to read this one. Per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, more commonly known as PFASs, PFOSs, and PFOAs. Thank you. I could have used those first, right? Michigan farmer Jason Grostek back in 2022 was told by the environmental regulators in Michigan that he had to stop selling beef and was forbidden from getting rid of his cattle as well. The farm was shut down because it was found to be contaminated with forever chemicals, which essentially were chemicals that don't break down in the environment and have been linked to numerous health conditions. The EPA shelled out $15 million in research grants this week to 10 institutions to conduct research into ways to reduce exposure to the chemicals through food and protective farms and to protect farms and communities, according to the news release from the EPA. The projects are designed to collect bioaccumulation data from plants exposed, and PFASs are a category of chemical used since the 1940s to repel oil and water and resist heat, which makes them useful in everyday products. Some PFASs do not easily degrade and can bioaccumulate or build up in the environment and the human body over time, resulting in potential adverse health effects. In other words, if they don't go anywhere, they just accumulate right in the environment in which they're sitting. The EPA funding is expected to be used to research how they accumulate specifically in crops and livestock. While Maine has been leading the nation in combating PFAS contamination, there's much to be learned and to be able to effectively address the threats created by the presence of these chemicals. Federal investments in research are essential to finding an innovative solution to deal with that. So, it's always good to see, I guess, us take a good hard look at harsh chemicals that we're using and their effects on us.
We're from the government. We're here to help.
Right.
That's the part that stands out for me. The government forbid him from, is that right? Okay. Well, I'll need more information on that. Yeah, I'll need more information on that. South Dakota company will do field trial of dairy. Here's just right along those lines, Dan. South Dakota company will do a field trial of dairy H5N1 vaccine. I know you're a huge fan. You collect these vaccines, and here's another one maybe for you to try. This story is from Jennifer Carrico from DTN. Thanks, Jen. According to a USDA spokesperson, USDA has authorized the acceptance of licensure applications for an initial field study under specific conditions of non-viable, non-replicating vaccine against HPI H5 to be administered to dairy cattle to evaluate safety as part of several USDA vaccine licensure requirements. That might be the longest sentence I have ever read.
I can already hear the people screaming, "It's in our milk."
Right. Multiple vaccine manufacturers have expressed interest in beginning field safety trials. Is that right? This is just one of several steps in achieving vaccine licensure. We anticipate receiving formal field study proposals for review from interested manufacturers in the coming weeks. This also happened as California announced its first H5N1 cases at 3 dairies in the Central Valley. This makes for 14 states affected by the outbreak and 197 confirmed cases as of September 4th, 2024. Cases of pink
Cows
eye.
dying yet? Cows dying yet?
No,
I don't
Yeah.
think so. I know. I'm fairly certain when it hits chicken coops, though, it will result in the termination of chickens. But
it's pretty serious for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. They're working on a vaccine. I'm just glad they're not trying to get me to take it. I'm not moving. I'm not moving.
You'll have to show your vaccine passport if you're a cow.
Holy cow!
And you want to move from state to state or go to a cocktail bar. I don't know. I don't mean to make light of these. We do every time that we talk about these stories. No. We poke fun, but certainly serious. And of course, your manufacturers will take it seriously. I hope also that government regulators that are responsible for the safety of citizens and folks who are involved in animal husbandry. Hopefully they are also taking it as serious and they're not going to bring us something that hasn't been thoroughly tested.
And isn't it great that so far this is not something we've had to talk about an actual terrible epidemic? And this isn't a pandemic. This isn't an epidemic. There's just a virus going around, and we're trying to scientifically deal with it. Is it the end of the world if we don't? I don't know. I don't
that we
personally
can easily
see any
face.
reason
Absolutely.
why, but I'm no biologist. I just look at charts all day.
For sure. Question of the week this week is, Carter, what is the question of the week? I'll make something up if you don't have one.
Weirdest movie you've ever seen.
Oh, so Dan, you got to be careful here, buddy, because I know about your taste in movie viewing.
Wow.
Carter has sort of laid a trap for us, and he wants to know, what is the weirdest movie you have ever watched?
No, I definitely know there's a few. There's definitely some weird cult classics out there. But I'm going to go with like what is and should be probably everyone in the mainstream world's answer. Clockwork Orange.
That was a pretty weird one. Yep.
It's just, it's intentionally weird, right? So that is by far the weirdest movie you've ever seen. Because, I mean, how do you top that?
And A Clockwork Orange should help us with search engine optimization, because I believe that they are remaking that film. And it's headed out right away. So I think if we say the words "A Clockwork Orange" a few more times, we'll start to get better traffic.
But seriously, that's actually kind of cool.
It's coming back out.
I don't know about you, but I have a love-hate relationship with remakes. If it's not done well, but a weird movie like that, I feel like it's hard to do it wrong, because you can take weird in all new directions, right? So.
I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the government making people do things. But that guy kind of had it coming, didn't he? He was a jerk. Yeah. I'm still mad at that guy. Like, I'm still mad at Helen Hunt. I remember Helen Hunt when she was married to Tom. Don't be looking at your watch. You're the guy that gives us these questions. Helen Hunt was married to Tom Hanks when he went to the island. Right? He's looking at his watch. No, you remember Tom Hanks got crashed. He was on a FedEx plane and it crashed, and he ended up on an island. And I think Helen Hunt married that dentist in like 6 weeks. I was like, man, how long? The guy's only been on the island for a month and a half, and already she's married to a dentist.
To a volleyball.
That's a good point. Good point. He did have another relationship himself. Well, maybe that'll all get edited out if Carter does his job. But otherwise, Dan, sincerely, I hope you hang.
Friday.
Yeah, Friday.
But we didn't get to hear your weirdest movie.
I'm going to agree with you. That's one of them. I've seen a lot of weird movies. Naked Lunch is a weird one. I don't recommend anybody try to watch that. I saw a movie called Gummo.
So now I feel like I have to.
A Harmony Korine film called Gummo when I was younger that was just out of this world bananas. I don't know if I recommend either of those, but certainly weird, yeah. But what I would say to you is, don't have a weird weekend. I hope that you hang in there. I hope that you stay caffeinated. Try to get a little bit of sleep.
My friend,
you're doing great work. We're all rooting for you.
And thanks for listening, everybody, to the Zaner MarketCast. If you need more, just because you can't get enough of us, you should sign up for that Zaner Daily News, Zaner Daily News hotline and our call-in, where you can get news from our one and only Ted Seifert and his updates on the market. Information in the comment section and in the links below.
It's completely free.
It's totally free. There we go. I always, it's like everybody should know by now. Like, do we even need to say it, right?
But I like to say it. It's free. That's part of the model.
It's free.
Great information. We're going to call you up and say hello if you'd like to explore other ways that we can help you with decision-making support in what I believe is going to be a pretty treacherous harvest season, price action-wise. We'd be more than happy to speak with you. That's free. Let's take a look at what you got going on. Let's take a look at what worked and what didn't work and see if we can't come up with a plan. Dan, the man, and I might be able to come up with a plan and see if we can get things in the right spot as we move forward this year.
Right. We're getting an opportunity here, it looks like, to do some pricing here. If there is another harvest low in front of us, right, we end the week here with, I think, some optimism that you need to be thinking about what to do, now here into harvest. If you haven't done so, you felt a little uneasy when we were below $4 or $10 for beans. for corn and beans respectively, give us a call. We'll have a couple ideas and things to talk to you about that fit what works for you and your farm solution. So
Absolutely.
you can find more here, of course, in the links provided. Thank you again. And be sure to like, comment, and follow the podcast to not miss a beat. And we will be back with you all next week and as price action develops. Take care, everyone.
Have a good weekend.